So let's welcome candidate Dita Watson and candidate Tierney Davis. Thank you all for your presence and participation. At this time, you will have 90 seconds to introduce yourself to the audience. In your introduction, please include relevant experiences you have had that have prepared you to run for Board of Education. Since we are starting our questions with candidate Watson, we will start with candidate Davis for your introduction. Candidate Davis, the floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tierney Davis, and I'm a 25-year resident of Elton, Maryland, and a proud veteran of the United States Air Force with over 30 years of federal government service in various leadership roles. I am also an emergency management official where I've had the opportunity to serve my country during various humanitarian crises. I am a consensus builder with a long history of working well with others to achieve common goals and solve complex problems. I was elected to the CCPS Board of Education in 2020, and I'm running for re-election to continue representing District 2 and every student who attends CCPS. I serve on the May Legislative Committee, and my background includes strong leadership, experience, and independence, which have all made me an effective board member. I have sworn allegiance to the Constitution 3 times in my career, and my federal service, my military service, and my 4 years on the Board of Education are all equal importance as it relates to service and giving back to my community. Effective school board members must be willing to put in the work, and I can honestly say that I have given maximum effort over the past 4 years in that role. I am 100% dedicated to our students in my community, including visiting schools, mentoring students, and out in the community advocating for public education. I am not just talking the talk, I'm also walking the walk, giving back to Cecil County in the way that brings us together. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Davis. Candidate Watson, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for having me. I am originally from former Yugoslavia, no longer existing. Came first as an exchange student back in 1998-99, and was completely amazed at the school system here. Fast forward, I'm a Cecil County now for over 20 years. I'm a mother of 2 amazing boys and a small business owner. So running for school board, number 1, as an immigrant, legal, by the way. As an immigrant, I feel the need to remind everyone of the power that you have as an American. It seems as if that power has been kind of a little bit lost under the table somewhere. You do have the power. You are the people who control your contract with government. As number 2, as a parent, I'm very confused with the priorities of the school system, with the standards and the scores being disturbingly low, but we are prioritizing in other ways. Discipline is gone, and the parents' rights seem to be at the chopping board pretty much every single day from legislation. So I'm here to make a stand and get a stronger presence within the parents and the school system.
Thank you, candidate Watson. As a reminder, candidate Watson, you will answer the question first, and then we will alternate from there forward.
Okay. Should I read the question?
No, I'll read for you. The first question, please describe the concept of maintenance of effort as it relates to the county's funding for Cecil County Public Schools. How does the state and/or county determine this figure? Candidate Watson, you have the floor.
So the maintenance of effort seems to be the basic main line of what every student is entitled to in the Cecil County Public School System, which I believe goes throughout the state of Maryland. I do understand it to possibly have some discrepancies with the state with that number, as I don't exactly know how that's formulated from the state, but I do know that that's where it comes from, to the county, and then gets distributed to the local schools in the districts.
Thank you. Candidate Davis, the same question. Please describe the concept of maintenance of effort as it relates to the county's funding for Cecil County Public Schools. How does the state and/or county determine this figure?
I'll start with the second question first. The per pupil cost, and as far as county wealth, pretty much dictate how the maintenance of effort is done. And unfortunately, we were funded at the lowest amount for the past 3 years, and it's kind of affected the amount of funding that we have for the school board. But those are the two main pillars of the maintenance of effort is per pupil costs and also for the county wealth. And as it relates to the CCPS, of course that affects what kind of money we get from the local share, because it's broken down by the state, the feds, and the federal only gives us about 5%, and the state gives us about 47, 48%, and the rest comes from local government. So we really need to make sure that number is at a level that meets the cost that we need each year to continue our operational costs. That's about it. Thank you.
You are receiving our next question. Take one moment to familiarize yourself. Candidate Davis, you will be answering first. What are your top funding priorities for Cecil County Public Schools?
Well, of course, the top funding priority would likely be, of course, we need more money for our teachers. We need to make sure that our classroom sizes are reduced, because right now our classes are oversized. And the main thing that we need is to have money for more teachers, but of course we need safety. And we pretty much covered most of the secure interests in Cecil County Public Schools, but we still need to devote maybe even more funding as it relates to keeping our children safe inside of the schools. And also right now we're building a new combination of middle and high school at Northeast, and I know that's taking big funding from CCPS as well, even though some of it's being covered by the state. But as far as the top priorities, I would definitely say it needs to be with our teachers and making sure, of course, that we cover the costs that come up for if we have capital investments, whether it be if chillers go out or air conditions and things of that nature. So we need to make sure that we have our reserve fund properly managed. And I know we need to have at least 2% in that reserve fund per our charter. Thank you.
And Candidate Watson, same question. What are your top funding priorities for Cecil County Public Schools?
Thank you. I do agree with Mr. Davis. The top priority should be the teachers. As we are experiencing, obviously everybody knows that the shortage in teachers is being a bit paramount at the moment. So we absolutely need to make sure the teachers have everything. I know that the teachers need the parents back in the classroom too, because every day they seem to be thrown other responsibilities to actually seem to take a lot off of parents' hands, which we cannot let happen. So we need to help our teachers out. The second is definitely safety for me, discipline, but safety more so. I believe that we should invest more in SRO officers in our schools and maybe a better situation with managing how many take in rotations and things like that. But I do believe that having their presence in most of our schools will make a difference in many ways, not just their safety, but in discipline and respect and accountability as well. Thank you.
You are receiving your third question. Candidate Watson, you will answer first. What additional measures do you believe should be implemented to ensure the safety of our students and staff in all school environments?
So I believe I sort of just answered this prior. I do believe in the more SRO agents, officers in our schools will ensure staff, school environment, safety is definitely number one. Obviously, everyone needs to feel safe in order to feel at a place where they can relax and actually learn and teach, vice versa, cooperate and do all those things. So I do believe in the presence of the officers being around a lot more actively will instill a lot of that safety from outside and in all senses of the word. Thank you.
And candidate Davis, same question. What additional measures do you believe should be implemented to ensure the safety of our students and staff in all school environments?
Well, as it relates to safety in our schools, I'm a firm advocate as it relates to that, and I believe that right now, as far as our football games and things like that, we're starting off with some weapons detection systems that we need to make sure that all the patrons that come in to watch our football games are safe, and that the students and the players are all safe as well. And I believe at some point in time, based on what's going on in our country, we may want to revisit that particular security system throughout all the schools in CCPS, and I know that's a controversial issue, but all students should feel safe when they're going to schools. They should not have to worry about whether they're going to have an incident at school. They should be focused on learning. So I believe having that weapons detection system maybe in the front of the schools may be something we may want to consider through having, of course, meetings with the community and the public to find out what their interest is in that. But me as a Homeland Security professional, I know that if you see something, say something, and protecting our students at school is of utmost importance. So the more safety measures we have in place, and of course for our teachers as well, we have to make sure that we have more mental health professionals available, because a lot of issues that happen at our schools are based on some of the mental health issues that our students are going through right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Davis, you will be answering first. What value do you place on input of families and community members in issues relating to our education and our schools? What strategies will you use to create a more inclusive and collaborative environment that encourages active involvement in our schools from parents and the community?
That's a pretty long question there, yikes. I mean, it's like a two-parter. So I don't know if I only got a minute 30 to talk about that, but the bottom line is that I believe family input in student education is very important. The data shows that parents who are involved in their student education results in higher scores and higher involvement by the parent will make sure that that student has an opportunity to succeed. What I do is I make sure that I go out and I involve myself with the schools. I volunteer, I mentor several young folks here in Cecil County, and I'm also out in public advocating for public education. But the parental involvement is something that each of our students would benefit from, and what strategy I might use to include that collaboration is maybe have more meetings in the public, making sure that board members are out in the public, making sure that folks know who they are. Because it's not a ceremonial role to be a board member. You need to be out and you need to be visible, not only at the schools, but out in the community. And I believe all of those, there is a connection between the public safety and public education. So the more we involve family, I think the less issues we may have, even at school, when it relates to teachers and the interaction with the students. So community involvement is very important, and it will lead to success for our students. Thank you.
Thank you. And candidate Watson, same question. What value do you place on input of families and community members in issues relating to education and our schools? What strategies will you use to create a more inclusive and collaborative environment that encourages active involvement in our schools from parents and the community?
Thank you. So this is definitely my strength, where I believe the family and the parents are paramount to a successful child's academic and all-around education. We should also be utilizing the Citizens Advisory Board a lot more so the community can get more involved and voice their opinions within and communicate with the Board of Education directly through that. As well as, I believe it would be, in my opinion, I would like to reintroduce again the parent-teacher conferences. Even if some parents can't make it, we can do that through Zoom, but I believe that making that connection and strengthening the bond between the parents and teachers directly will ensure that that child can absolutely feel, number one, empowered, and very important to know that the education is the most important thing a child can go, and that's their career. So definitely yes to families, parents, and teachers, and absolutely utilize the Citizens Advisory Board a lot more. Thank you.
Going into our final question. Candidate Watson, you will answer first. How will you measure the superintendent's effectiveness in leading Cecil County Public Schools?
So as the superintendent, the role is to advise the best that he or she is possible, to advise the board on what curriculums and what measures to take, bring the budgets to the forefront and all those things. So at the end of the day, I think the evaluation will fall into the effectiveness of the overall plan that the superintendent brings. Are there shortfalls somewhere? What do the contracts look like? Where do they come from? And how were they procured? And second is also what is the end goal of the education and what the scores show at the end of that. So if we have a high rate of successful students, that would definitely be, yes, we have a really good system. If we need to work on it, then that would fall into that evaluation in my opinion. Whether the students do well or not, and everyone feels safe and effective. Students go to college or not, or don't go to college, doesn't matter. They still should come out with a very successful end career. That would be for me. Thank you.
Thank you. And Candidate Davis, same question. How will you measure the superintendent's effectiveness in leading Cecil County Public Schools?
And of course, the superintendent's effectiveness is likely going to be through test scores and the results that our students have. But the superintendent, for those who don't know, he's the only employee of the Board of Education, so that we oversee what he does. And I with all due respect, I think our superintendent here in Cecil County Public Schools is one of the best, not only in this state, but in this entire area. And it's like in the Matrix, you would think there's 5 or 6 of them sometimes because he's everywhere. And that's how you have effectiveness as well, is that he is out, he's an ambassador of education to our community and to our schools. Because when I grew up, I didn't even know who our superintendent was, because that person was in the ivory tower somewhere and you never saw them. So it's not just about test scores, it's about being out there and advocating for public education and the value of it. But of course, test scores are very important as well. And I know during the last 3 years, we've had COVID, we've had things that have kind of interrupted some of the learning throughout that time, some of the learning loss. And I believe that our superintendent has done the best that they can to try to bring everything back on track. But of course, that's funding is related to that as well. But I believe that the superintendent's effectiveness will be ultimately measured by student success. And once again, the Board of Education, the members of the Board of Education, he is our employee. We will hold he or she accountable at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you. Each candidate will now have 1 minute for closing remarks. Pay attention to the clock. It says 1:30, but you have a minute. Candidate Watson, you will go first. Candidate Davis, you will go second. Candidate Watson, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I first would like to thank everybody for coming out. I appreciate it. Definitely make sure we go out and vote November 5th. Parents, please remember, advocate for your kids. The rights are being taken. 12-year-olds can now decide on their own medical interventions if they should choose to. So definitely make sure that you are in the know of what is going on in the school with your kid, with your child, and stay involved. Of course, their success depends on your involvement, always. So thank you.
And Candidate Davis, the floor is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, my name is Tierney Davis, and I respectfully ask for the vote of every Cecil County resident to continue service to my community and the students of CCPS. Voting is how we ensure that our government and school board remains of the people, by the people, and for the people. It has been an honor and a pleasure to serve on the Board of Education representing District 2 in Elton over the past 4 years. I believe members of the school board not only have an oversight responsibility, but they should also be inspirational to our students and education ambassadors in our communities. Student safety, academic achievement, and smaller classrooms are pillars of my platform if re-elected. So with that being said, I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and get to work continuing my strong advocacy on behalf of the 15,000 students at our 29 schools. If the citizens of Cecil County trust me with another 4-year term, I promise to always serve with pride, integrity, and most importantly, ethics, which in my opinion is the most important trait for all public officials. Thank you to the Cecil County Chamber of Commerce and Cecil College for hosting this important candidate forum.
Thank you both for your participation. You may now join the audience